Hello and welcome into Check Please, our weekly check-in at DC Prime Steak and Lobsters. Not all steaks are created equal. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show. We'll have some good food coming on out here. Julie Donaldson with you as always, but joining me today are some teammates. I want to get teammates together because we can get some good stories. We have Tim Hightower, Logan Paulsen, both of them on offense, tight end, running back here for the Washington football team. You guys played 1 year together.
Correct.
And already we've been hearing some stories being shared between each other. So I want to hear what is the one thing when I say Logan Paulsen, what is it that stands out you remember from him?
Probably nothing.
That you're allowed to share, because we've heard a lot of different stories.
I was a lonely second year guy. Tim was like on the up and up. He was like, this is your fourth year, right? When you first got here,
yeah. No, yeah. Logan was always one of those. I don't know if I have any funny stories. It may come, but he was the definition of a gym rat. Just early morning, in the afternoon, he was a gym rat. And
I hear you also work out barefoot.
I don't do that. I've gone through. If there's a workout trend, I probably tried it. I did it for a little bit, but then I was like, this isn't for me.
You love to work out.
I love working out.
You love to work out.
Yes. Still does.
And I was always worried about being late, so I'd get there at like 5 a.m.
Is that why you were there so early?
Yeah, because I was always worried about being late.
What time were you supposed to be there?
Like 7:30 or something like that.
He was early. He stayed late.
What about from Tim?
So I have a kind of a crazy memory. I remember Tim hurt himself in the Carolina game. I remember walking into the locker room, and they had just said that he had torn his ACL, and Tim was like, I'm going back in the game. And there were people like, the trainers were like physically restraining him because he's like, all I need is my little machine and I'm going to be back on the field playing football. And he was freaking out, and I was like, holy cow, this guy's like on another level mentally. And that's shown out like in his career. Like after that, you didn't play football for a long time, and then you came back after like a 3-year hiatus, right? And played for New Orleans. And like, I cannot think of one other person who's done that. And that speaks to, in my opinion, one of the things I love. Well, the stubbornness and what I love about you is you loved football.
I loved it.
And that's what I always admired about you. You just loved it.
His story was much better than mine, but you know.
I do think that's part of what makes you guys unique, and the 1% of the 1% is you're willing to go there early, an hour and a half early, stay in the gym, and after injury, you still want to get out there and you want to contribute to your team. You now have taken over the alumni for the Washington football team. How's that kind of gone? You're like a year into the job now. How's it gone?
You know what? You have your days where you love it. There's so much, you learn so much, and then you have your days where you realize how different, right? The game has changed, how much it's evolved, and how different guys are. Right, you got guys that have different demands, they have different needs, and at the end of the day, I love football, I love the game, and so I love hearing the stories from these guys and being able to have them come back around like we did a few weeks ago for homecoming.
You talk about coming back around, you're actually like a local guy from Richmond. What was it like kind of being local and then playing for the local team as well?
Between the 25, 30 ticket requests every single game.
You got to make mom, your aunts, your
cousins,
your friends from elementary school.
You can never make everyone happy because there's always that request that you forgot, and they take it personal. But besides that, every single one of us, Logan can attest to this. You had so many people who poured into your life in that journey, and so to have a chance to have them all there and to be a part of that, it was special.
Opposite story for you. You're a West Coast kid.
I am a West Coast kid,
It's a challenge of then moving your life totally east.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was like the first time I'd ever lived like on my own, away from my family, because I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I went to UCLA, which is like 20 minutes away. And so when I came here, I just had like one bag. I stayed in the extended stay right down here the road. I paid like $20 a night to live there, and I lived there the whole year because I thought I was going to get cut every single day. So that was what I did. And here we are.
Take me through that mindset.
What mindset? The fear?
Yeah.
Of getting cut every day?
I think it's a little bit of like an imposter syndrome in retrospect. I think like, like I didn't feel like I belonged because you come here and there's guys like who are, like Donovan McNabb was the quarterback. That was like my mom's favorite player. You know, there's Mike Sellers, who I remember watching when I was little growing up, and you're Clinton Portis, and you're like, I don't deserve to be with this group of guys. Chris Cooley was here. And then so every day I thought I had to earn my spot within this group of like really distinguished human beings and football players. So.
But you also see guys every single week. You see workouts. You see 10 guys being brought in every single week for a workout, and you don't know
And
you
are
could be
those
that guy.
tight ends, right? Although they come and bring someone to
Exactly.
replace me. That's
Exactly.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Well, we're constantly getting updates throughout the season that I get on bringing some guy up, releasing some guy on the practice squad. And it is a constant change, and it's a constant fight to be able to earn that 53-man roster spot. But you had 10 years
Yeah.
in the NFL, so there's something to say of your being able to stick around
Yeah.
and go through. Do you miss playing?
Do I miss playing? I think there's sometimes, like when we went in training camp and watched practice, there's part of you that's like, you could put the helmet on one more time. And then I just remember how my body felt, like near the end, like how bad, like my joints and my back and my neck and my head were starting to hurt. And I was like, it's probably good that I stepped away when I did before anything really terrible happened, you know? But Tim just didn't know when to quit. He just stayed with it the whole time.
Well, you miss that. You miss this, right? You
Yeah.
miss one. You miss just walking in the locker room. You don't that environment, that natural brotherhood, competitive environment, all day, every day. You miss that, and that's something that, regardless of whether we stop playing or not, that's something that we all crave and we all look forward to.
Is that something you've been able to kind of foster with the alumni program a little bit, or?
We're working on that.
Yeah.
We're working. I mean, it's the cool thing about it is, regardless of how far away guys get, as soon as you get them back together, it happens. Regardless of the generations.
Yeah.
As soon as guys realize there's a common bond that they know that only guys who've been in that locker room share, and so it's pretty cool to see that when they come.
And you
together.
mentioned the difference between generations. If you
Yeah.
had to say what's the one biggest difference between old guys and young guys that you have to talk with every day, you know, in terms of getting them together for alumni events?
Oh man, contracts.
Oh, they love that, huh?
Contracts.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, man. The talk about to hear about some of the contracts of some of those guys who played just in the 80s.
Right. Yeah.
To hear about what they played for and having to have a full-time job in the offseason,
Yeah.
it's just, it blows your mind to think of some, Hall of Fame superstar,
Yes.
high-profile guys who are playing for $20 and $30 and $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's just, it blows your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I remember being at the Alumni, and that was definitely one of the first things that came up as well, is what these kids get paid these days. And that they did have to fight and work for it. But there's a lot, you mentioned like the sacrifice on your body and everything as well. You created a workout machine. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I created a workout machine. Hopefully the website's up. If you guys want to go check it out, cattonstrength.com. And
Catton Strength?
Yeah, KATN. Kick ass, take names.
There you go.
Oh.
My
Okay.
mom used to say that to me before every game. I'd get on the phone in the hotel room, we talk on the phone, and she'd be like, my mom's like this little sweet 5'5" woman, and she goes, make her, and she'd get all quiet, like whisper, and be like, make sure you catton tomorrow, honey, and I'd be like, yeah, mom, okay. And so like she was pretty
Catton.
stoked when it became the name of the product in the company. So
Very
pretty
cool.
exciting. Yeah.
Very-
How is your mom 5'5"
Yeah.
and you're 6'5"?
Yeah, I'm 6'5". My dad's 6'2", and he's a slight build, so it's really funny. And my brother's 6'3". He's 300 pounds. He's a big guy.
Oh, wow.
You know, so when we were with my mom, it's like two big pit bulls running around. My mom's like, "Don't you do that?" You know, I don't know what happened. So
I love hearing a little bit of those stories. When you played, did you have like a favorite stadium you'd go to?
Oh man, I mean the Superdome was awesome. Back in the day when it was rocking, and I'm assuming you're talking about away
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
I mean I love playing in Seattle. I love playing Kansas City, and I love playing New Orleans. I mean any place that those hostile. Oakland was pretty. I hate the field, but
The field was
hostile
terrible.
fans, they're in your face. Those are great environments.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I just remember the first time I played in Seattle. I think it was 2011, and it was like
You couldn't hear anything.
so loud,
hear
and you're like
anything. Yeah.
in the huddle, and it's
that
like the white noise, and
Yeah.
and you're just like it was just like
Start
kind of
doing
gives you
sign language
goosebumps.
'cause
Yeah,
you can't
yeah.
hear anything.
12th man is for real.
Yeah.
right.
We can't wait to get FedEx Field rocking that way.
Yeah,
Of course, the new
it'd be
stadium
great.
as
Yes,
well, getting that
indeed.
fan base back. But what will it take to get the fan base back? We're going to ask some of those questions. I know it's a little bit of a sigh. Everybody at home, all the fan base is feeling the
Come back.
exact same. Keep it right here on Check, please. We'll talk a little bit more about the state of the burgundy and gold when we return.
Gambit DC, the world-class sports betting app and website. Gambit DC will be there for the first pitch, the first slam dunk. Bet on your favorite sports and teams, collegiate and professional. There are multiple ways to bet. Spreads, money line, over-under. Want to win big? Try a parlay. Want to be a part of the action? Try in-game betting. It's easy, it's secure, and it's at your fingertips. Gambit DC. It's sports, only better. Powered by DC Lottery. GambitDC.com.
Now there's a way to make supporting your favorite restaurant even better. Introducing the Grubhub Guarantee. It's our promise to make sure your food is just right by delivering it on time within the delivery window and for the lowest price compared to other apps. Or you'll get back at least $5 in perks. That way you can experience your food just like the restaurant intended. That's the Grubhub Guarantee.
It's about grit. It's about guts. It's about winning. It's about where we come from and what we can be. It's about DC and celebrating our football team. With the Washington football team scratcher from the DC Lottery, you can win up to $50,000, as well as some exciting second chance opportunities. And you can continue your winning experience at DCILottery.com.
This week on FanDuel Sportsbook, we're offering an exclusive odds boost to new customers. So you can turn
I like those odds.
Into
I love those odds.
And Lil Dubs into Big Dubs. But it's only happening now. Make every moment more with FanDuel Sportsbook when you boost your odds right now.
Whew, you big, man.
New customers get exclusive 40-1 odds on any team to win their Week 1 matchup. Bet $5 to win $200.
Welcome back into Check, Please. I'm sitting here with Tim Hightower and Logan Paulsen. Guys, we got to talk about the state of this Washington football team. 2-6, incredibly disappointing from what the hopes were. Logan, let me start off with you though, because we've talked a lot about the expectations.
Sure.
And the fans had such high expectations. We thought the team was going to take that next step, and it was a little bit of a slow start last year, but you did see them come together. But yet we haven't really seen too much of that next progression as what we had wanted.
Yeah, so this is always tough. Like, fan expectation is that everyone's going to the Super Bowl every year, and I think a lot of teams, they have that same expectation that their roster is good enough to make it to the Super Bowl. I think obviously at this point of the year, I think if you take a step back and look at it analytically, you can see that this roster isn't quite where it needs to be. It's starting to get bit by the injury bug. Now, that's not to say they can't turn the corner and make something happen, because 2012, the year after you left, we were able to go 3-6 and then make a playoff run late in the season. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but there's always that possibility. Teams are starting to falter a little bit before the halfway mark. Tampa Bay's lost 2, and so there is some ebb and flow to the season. It's a long season now, an extra game. So, I just think the expectation moving forward is that you just want to see improvement each week from the team, offensively and defensively, and hope that gives you some optimism moving into next season.
I said last year, it's not going to be the record that really will probably matter for the team. It's going to be what progress from what you just said are you going to see. However, that record at 7-9 won the division. But Tim, Logan just mentioned there's a lot of injuries. I mean, we're playing with basically on offense a ton of backups at every single position. You being out there, how difficult is that to try and accomplish what they want to do, knowing you don't have your reliables out there?
That's tough. I mean, that's the depth is what you talk about, especially you add a game this season, right? You add a game coming into a season, your roster, you're trying to figure out your roster. You're trying to figure out who are the leaders, who are they going to be? And then you start getting hit with some injury bugs at those key positions. Is your team good enough to sustain some of those losses? And typically the teams who make it deep into the playoffs, they have depth at O-line, they have depth at D-line. We knew we didn't have that coming to this season, and it's starting to show.
That offensive line, I'm a little scared. I mean, going into the game into Denver, we were kind of bragging about how the offensive line has done, despite a lot of the injuries. And now we're sitting here in a situation going like, well, what can they be moving forward?
Right.
The bye week's kind of here now. It could be a good time for some of those guys to get their bodies right. But defensively too, Logan, when you look at the defense, how do you assess can you pinpoint where the problem is and why it's there?
I mean, I might be in the minority, and I feel like I am every week, but I feel like they're playing better. They started off really rough, and you kind of thought, well, this is not the group we thought. There's a lot of things that could be fixed that needed to be fixed, but when you look at them now, I feel like they're starting to play better football. Obviously, they're holding kind of a middling Denver team to 17 points, but I think that's positive. They're playing well against teams they should be playing well against. And I think that's good signs. I think the coverage unit's getting better. I think moving Landon Collins to linebacker was the right decision. He's playing much better there. Looked outstanding the last 2 weeks. D-line's playing better. So all those things are positive building blocks moving forward.
That's tough. It's tough to. I would agree, but that's tough when the expectations are so high.
Yeah.
When you come in ranked preseason as the #1 defense. It's hard to recover from anything other than a top 5, 10 defense in the league right now, and they're just.
How do you go though from a top 5 to? I mean, you look at the statistical categories, and the stats have them like a bottom 2.
Yeah.
If not worst in so many of those areas.
You think about it when you move a guy like Landon Collins to safety. Is that scheme? Do you have the right guys for? We played with Bobby Turner and Mike Shanahan regime.
Yeah.
It was system, it was coaching, it was players.
Yeah.
Do you have the right guys for the system and for the coaching? And when you start seeing guys mid-season move around, some of your leaders, we don't have the right guys, or we're not putting them. We're not running the right scheme to put guys in the right position to make plays. And I think you saw that early on with the secondary, the busted coverage. Guys are not playing together. Guys are out of position. They're trying to figure out right now, is it scheme, or do we not have the right guys?
A lot of it I hear guys saying it's a communication, and to do that a lot of times, Fred Smeat will talk about the days that he played with, Sean Taylor and Sean Springs and Carlos Rogers. He's like, we didn't even have to communicate, we could just look at each other, and we knew because they had built up that time, and the secondary doesn't have that. This is the bye week. We are halfway through this season. First off, it's probably pretty good timing. It's not come too early.
It's great timing.
It doesn't come too late.
Yeah.
Great timing. What do you need to see? What do you want from these guys during this transition? Is it just a self-assessment, reflection?
Yeah. Look, 2 things. You still have the whole NFC East ahead of you. So you want some perspective. You want to see some perspective, but you want to see a sense of urgency in the way that guys come out to practice. How are guys, I'm interested in, I'm sure Coach Rivera and everybody is, how eager are these guys? Then you need to get away, right? You need to get some time away. But how eager are these guys come Monday morning? How early are they showing up? Is there a sense of urgency? Do they even believe that they still have a shot this year to make a run late in the season? That's what you want to see.
I totally agree with what Tim said. I think the bye week comes at a good time because it allows you to get healthy. I think it allows you to do a lot of self-scouting too. We talked about scheme early. I think coaches use this time, rightfully so, to kind of say these are the things we need to be better at. Yeah. And also, I think it's interesting that the progression of the offense comes around the midway point of the season. I think because they had so many new pieces in the back end, right? So just another couple of weeks of practice, kind of like a pseudo training camp practice, right? You just get extra days to work and cultivate kind of that communication you talked about, the deficiencies there. So I definitely think that this is a perfect time for the bye week. I think some of these injuries are longer than the bye week, but hopefully it'll allow them to kind of regroup, regather, and move on in the last half of the season.
Yeah.
Both of you have had, you've played on teams where you've had your own fair share of struggles, right? It wasn't necessarily, you weren't going to the Super Bowl every year. I mean, can you relate anything that you see this team going through to maybe a team that you were on or that you went through, and where maybe somebody said something or something happened, or it's just a certain win and things maybe changed, or the energy or anything along those lines?
No, I think that that's a really interesting question, right? Because I think it's when you're on a team like that, I think back to the 2012 team that made the playoff run, that we were a good enough roster to kind of make a push. And the question that I have at this moment as a fan and an analyst is, do they have enough talent on the roster, healthy talent on the roster, to make a push coming out of the bye? Is there something like that can catalyze this group? And I'm not sure. That's a big question that kind of looms over it. Is this a talent issue? Is it a mentality issue? And we'll get that answer here very shortly.
Yeah, you talk about mentality. 2008, I'm in the, we make a Super Bowl run, but people don't remember we were 9-7. We won the division at 9-7 in Arizona.
Yeah.
When I was in Arizona, and I'll never forget. You got guys like Carlos Dansby. You got guys like Edgerrin James and Larry Fitzgerald, and Kurt Warner. I mean, they held players-only meetings. They took over that locker room and provided a sense of urgency and a perspective. The perspective that I'm talking about. The NFC West was not as good. It was weak that year. And so they gave us a perspective heading down that stretch that, hey, we're still in this thing. And there was a sense of urgency that, as a young guy, you just followed those older guys. You followed how they practiced. You followed what they did, and they believed in it, so you believed in it. And we made a stretch going down the end of the season.
So I got a question for you, Tim. Do you think that there's that kind of senior leadership on this team? That's something that I always go back to, especially at the quarterback position.
That's what I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, right.
I haven't seen that from, and that's what, in training camp, you start to look at who are those guys?
Right.
Who's setting the tone in practice? Who's not just the first out there, right? But who is setting the tone for how do we practice?
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest thing that I had to learn as a rookie. How do you practice? What's the tempo? what's the, what's the norm? What,
Right.
are guys finishing 10 or 20 or 15 extra yards after a catch? That's something that I didn't quite see, and that you want to see in this time. Does maybe someone emerge who you didn't quite think
Right, yeah.
would have at the beginning of the season?
That's a big question that even Coach Rivera has, and I think we have heard some players say who's going to be that guy. And
Right.
you have, I think, quite a few can pinpoint on defense. I think offense we're still learning, and even Coach Rivera said that's where you probably wish you would have had still Ryan Fitzpatrick out there, because not only is he going to be able to help read those defenses and help these younger guys up understand the game and make them better, but he also can help them in maturity and understanding how to hold themselves in the locker room as well. Okay, that's about the Burgundy and Gold. We got a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more conversation about the Washington football team, the state of where they're at, and what are the expectations at the end of the season. Also, maybe we'll go a little bit around the league with some ageless wonders. I mean, given the age of some of the guys still playing, maybe both of these guys could get back out there. Stay with us on Check, please.
Nachos, better with Pepsi.
Hey man, we're back. We're back. Hey, you got any more of those fast plays?
Tons. Check them out.
Cool. Oh. You know what? We're gonna need a bunch of each.
A bunch.
Hey, thanks, bud.
Thanks, bud.
Fast Play is fast fun for everyone.
My peeps, look what I got! Hey, we'll play them on the ship.
The Maryland Lottery has lots of Fast Play games, and some have a progressive jackpot.
The modern world is a digital world, at home, at work, or on the go. We rely on data every day. Losing it can result in lost family photos, lost business, or even a lost job. Want to avoid these problems? You need cyber protection, where backup and cybersecurity meet. Only Acronis offers backup solutions that also stop ransomware before your files are damaged. It's easy, efficient, and secure cyber protection for all your data. Try Acronis free for 30 days. Go to acronis.com today for modern cyber protection.
Veterans, you may have earned a variety of VA benefits. Did you know VA can help you further your education and pursue professional training? The Home Loan Guarantee Program can help you buy, repair, or adapt a home. VA provides housing support if you find yourself homeless or at risk of homelessness. And don't forget world-class healthcare. Learn more about these and other VA benefits. Visit choose.va.gov.
My work has been viewed by 100 million people. My work helps save lives. My work has gone platinum. My work gives people hope. I work at FedEx.
Take your career to the next level with one of our many open positions.
We are back on Check. Please talk a little bit about the Washington football team. But when we do come back, we're going to face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and that ageless wonder I was telling you about. Why are you guys not playing and Tom Brady still is?
That's a great question. If I knew, I would still be playing.
Yeah.
Can you believe this man is still doing what he is doing at his age?
No, I can't. I mean, it's just, and he keeps getting better. Like, you think there's going to be like a dip at some point, but it just keeps progressing.
It's like
and
a
getting
fine
better.
wine. You get better
You
with
keep waiting for that
age,
bad game.
Yeah.
You're like, here it goes. That's it.
But it
If
never
those
really
knees are a little crickety.
And then it doesn't happen. And then it doesn't happen.
What do you think Washington needs to do to come out from the bye and hopefully have some momentum going into this game? It's at FedEx Field.
Study the Saints tape.
Yeah, I know they found his kryptonite, huh?
Study it. You watch it over and over. This is a copycat league. Everyone knows that. We know it. We would watch red zone, what a team struggles with, just like teams do that for us. And then you go and you test them. Did they correct it? Did they figure it out? If I'm every single person on this roster, I'm studying this tape. How were they able to disrupt Tom Brady to get turnovers? And I'm gonna find out, did they correct it?
And they've been able to do that 2 years in a row now. So you'd think that they've got some type of roadmap there. I mean, I think another team that gives you an interesting model for how to beat a more talented team was the Detroit Lions 2 weeks ago against the LA Rams. And what they did is they kind of went all in on every situation, every possession. They had a really nice fourth down plan. They went for multiple fourth downs, fake punts. They were super hyper aggressive in terms of offensive play calling and defensive play calling, and that's what you have to do when you're going up against an opponent that's roster is quite frankly better. I think they have one of the best rosters in the NFL, so that's not a slight against the Washington football team. That's a compliment to Tampa Bay.
It's the roster that won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they brought everybody back.
So I agree with Tim. I think looking at New Orleans, then being ready to just be as aggressive as possible in this game, and it's okay if you lose 38-0 if you are super aggressive. And push the envelope.
Well, we want to see, and that's back to your very first point, and when we started this conversation, is where's that sense of urgency? Where are you coming out with to be able to say, you know what, not just walking the game and say we got to find a way to win, but coming out with that mentality that says we have a chance. We don't care if it's Tom Brady, if it's defending Super Bowl champs. We have a chance and play like it, and then maybe you actually give yourself a chance on any given Sunday. Let's go into this thing where I want to talk about the impact that women have had on your professional careers. This is presented by Fresh Vine Wine. Tim, is there a woman in your life that has an impact on who you were as a player, or maybe even now, who you are in your career after football?
Yeah, I would definitely say, my best friend, my pastor's daughter growing up, we talked about the time being away, when I was away from football. It was the 5th surgery. I'm laying in the hospital, and she walked in with this elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One piece at a time. I don't know where it came from, but the moral of the story was one piece at a time. You're going to get back. I believe in you. And it just kind of cemented the friendship, the support. And a year later, I was back out there playing. She was at the game with the elephant to remind, hey, you live this life one piece at a time, or one step at a time, and you conquer big obstacles one piece at a time.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. So for me, it's obviously like my mom and my wife. My wife has been with me through every single possible bit of adversity. Like the last 4 years in the NFL, like I lived in the city that I was playing in, and she lived here, and so she was raising the kids and just grinding and being a monster out here. So like I couldn't do anything in my career, I couldn't do anything in my life without her. So I'm really grateful for her and what she did. So
your wife was also a D1 basketball player.
Yes, she
Who
was.
wins in hoops in your family?
I think I can get her now. She hasn't played in a while, but when she was in college, she would beat me. She'd skunk me. She was amazing. Yeah. So a little bit of a dip off now, but
she fell off.
Well, she doesn't play every day, what
we want to see a little bit of family ball coming up soon.
Yeah.
That is presented by...
She's going to kill me for saying that, by the way.
Fresh Vine Wine. The women have an impact in our players' lives. Hey, that's going to do it for this episode of Check Please. Thanks so much for joining us here at DC Prime Steaks and Lobsters. Kind of nibbling on our appetizers, which means the main course is about to come. Logan Paulsen, thank you so much. Tim Hightower, thank you so much. Let's eat.